All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to Miami City Ballet's opening weekend of their 40th anniversary season. My name is Rebecca King Ferraro.
And I'm Michael Sean Breeden. Rebecca and I are both former dancers with the Miami City Ballet, so it's such a pleasure for us to be back here. But we are also the hosts of the podcast Conversations on Dance. And Miami City Ballet is where we started the podcast. It's our 10th anniversary, so it's fun to be here. Dual anniversaries, celebrating together. We got to speak to Gonzalo Garcia, the new director of Miami City Ballet, yesterday. We got some insight into his plans for the coming years and what his expectations were for just the night. But we are so lucky to be joined by Justin Peck as well today, because the whole program you'll be seeing is comprised of Justin's work. So thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, Gonzalo, last night we did chat with you, and that episode has been recorded, and it will be out on podcast platforms pretty soon. So please catch up on that if you haven't. But our last question that we asked you was, what do you think tonight will feel like? And so last night happened. How did you feel on the first night of Miami City Ballet's season with you at the helm?
I mean, I felt good. I enjoyed it. It was a good evening. The company was really just energetic, and they gave it all. You know, I think that it truly was a celebration. I think they were very committed to the next chapter, and they're excited, and you could feel it. And they also know that Justin is here, so they have this sort of they want to be good for Justin also. And I think that really truly showed. And there was also an energy in the audience that I could feel it. You know, I gave my first speech ever as an artistic director in front of the curtain. I was a little nervous. But as soon as I came out, they were so welcoming that I felt relaxed, and I was able to really enjoy and savor the evening. And I think it was a very successful evening.
As dancers who have transitioned to speaking, Michael and I were very impressed with your opening speech last night. No cards, just so natural. It was wonderful.
Yeah, the audience was eating out of the palm of your hand. It was amazing. Justin, this is, I believe, your first time having a triple bill like this outside of the New York City Ballet, where it's the whole evening is a Peck evening. What does that feel like for you?
Yeah, it is the first time, and it feels very fitting as well. And it made me think back a lot on my, I guess, like my early development as a choreographer in the professional world, and early on with my time at New York City Ballet. I remember just like working so much in depth there, but Miami City Ballet very quickly became like this kind of second home where I was able to come and work with these dancers and these artists and build dances and with both of you as well involved in that too. And so it feels in a way very fitting to have this program take place here at Miami City Ballet, and of course it's a huge honor. It's a little bit of a strange experience because it's like I'm joking that it's almost like this like capsule collection of works that were made between 2012 and 2015, and actually Heatscape, it's another anniversary. Heatscape 10-year anniversary.
Years, yeah.
And so the program is Year of the Rabbit, Chutes and Ladders, and Heatscape, and Heatscape especially just feels like this anthem for the company, that it was made at a very special time with a beautiful arc of dancers and artists who were here at Miami City Ballet, and we were able to build this dance together and pull in Shepard Fairey into the mix, who designed the set, who was one of the pioneering artists of the Wynwood Arts District at that time, and so it just feels like the dancers really embody that energy, and they own it, and they are just so activated and alive in it. So the whole evening is it's just like a huge honor and a lot of fun.
That ballet is so special for so many of us who are a part of that process. We got to do it in New York on tour, and you gave us such a cool gift. Do you remember? when
Yes.
Heatscape premiered, you gave us all a poster
Yeah.
of the Shepherd Ferry backdrop, and we all have them framed in our homes, our apartments. There's just like a very special thing.
Yeah, and those were made in kind of like coordinating with Shepherd. So these were prints of the backdrop that he created, and there's only a certain number of them that exist in the world. And it's actually this like really amazing connecting artifact that we all have. And so sometimes like we'll go visit one another and go into each other's homes, and it's
Totally,
like
yeah.
framed and hanging.
I have that.
Yeah. I was actually going to say on Zoom during the pandemic, we were all like sitting in front of our posters of it. I feel like.
I have mine's like above our like breakfast table in our in our kitchen, so it's always there and a reminder of that beautiful time we had together.
I love this program because I love the ballets, but I also think I just realized that it goes chronologically as well. So the first thing you see is your big breakthrough with You're the Rabbit, which is the first main stage premiere you had with the New York City Ballet. And then you go to the first work you did at Miami City Ballet, which was Chutes and Ladders. I believe that was your first thing outside of New York City Ballet as well.
Yeah.
And then we culminate with Heatscape, which has obviously become this runaway smash hit. It's been done by, I think, a half a dozen companies now. So it's so fun to see this progression for Justin. And if you don't know his work, by the end of the night, you'll have such a good idea of what makes him tick as an artist and choreographer. But I thought we could turn to Gonzalo about this because you spoke a little bit last night about how you saw You're the Rabbit and you were like, this is a major talent. Like, what was it about that initial work that made you think that this was going to be someone who we'd be hearing from for a long time?
Well, he is still young, but he was even younger when he did this work. And, he had this ability to create a world, a community, in a very cool way, that the dancers believed in that community, and he was able to move this community in such a free way, that it makes sense. He has this almost mathematical way of thinking of the music and people, and I've been in the studio with him many times, and he's just looking at you and looking at the group, and he's just going like this, and then and then you're like, how did he do that? Has he been planning it for days or months? It's like he's able to see people in spaces within the music and how to move people around. And then as he's moving people around, he's also creating this world, this community that at the end of the day, as a dancer and as an artist, you feel part of, and you want to be part of. You feel cool about being chosen to be in that community. And I think he has that ability from the very beginning. And I think he's been able to develop that community and then create even more sophisticated relationships, now. So yeah, he has a lot of talent.
While we're on the subject of moving people around, I want to jump forward and talk a little bit more about Heatscape. There's a section in the third movement that you've called the mandala section, where there is so much of that moving in and out. Michael and I were talking about it before, trying to recall it being created. What was that process like for you? Because I remember it being quite lengthy.
It's so funny you say that. I was just trying to like remember what the process was of making that, and I have like no memory.
I remember
of
it being.
It's like I blacked out for like the making of that.
I feel like it was
Done.
I feel like it was a long time, but then Michael said he didn't remember that either. So maybe, I feel like there was a lot of different versions because it's quite complicated.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I feel like maybe we spent a good week like working on that, just that idea, because it is so complicated. And for those of you coming to the show tonight, the backdrop that Shepherd designed has this like beautiful mandala at the center of it, and it's a very grounding symbol, and it also kind of represents the sun and light and life and energy and all that. But when Shepherd designed it, I was really inspired by this mandala that he made. And I remember actually traveling around Miami, and he has a bunch of street art murals all over Miami. And I remember there was one, I don't know if it's still there, but it used to be up kind of like near the design districts where like Harry's Pizzeria used to be. Anyone know that spot, that corner up
Yes.
there? Yeah. I think Harry's is gone now, right? But
Is
maybe
it?
the mandala is still there. But there's this
I
like
think it's still there.
there's this huge, beautiful, like multiple story high mandala there. So I've always loved that in Shepard's work. And it was one of those really beautiful circumstances where the artist actually inspired the choreography a little bit, right? Because it was one of the things we made last for the ballet, this mandala section, and I knew that this is what Shepard had designed, and I just wanted to lean into the architecture of that and see how, Gonzalo was talking about kind of bringing things to life in space, and a lot of times I do think about making dances as like adding this like Z axis to the X and the Y axis. And I think that's true in terms of like the music and like the visual art, which has this like, I mean, it's has life to it, but it's like a little more flattened. And so to like then expand upon that and bring a new dimension of it to life in space and have it be in conversation with not just the music, but also like the visuals of this world is a really exciting part of the ballet, and it's one of my most proudest things that exists in it. But it is funny when I watch it, I'm like, I don't remember making this. Yeah.
Okay, I hope you do have a few memories in the studio with Gonzalo that we can talk about, because you guys worked quite extensively together. He was joking that at first, he's like, I want to get in these ballets, and then, he became one of your prime collaborators. You did Rodeo and Pulcinella and Decalogue and things like that that are also different, and I thought that was really interesting too. So were you intentionally trying to draw different sides out of Gonzalo? Did you see Gonzalo drawing different sides out of you? Like, what made your collaboration in the studio so fruitful?
I was very young when I started to make these ballets for New York City Ballet, and I remember Gonzalo was a little older than me.
I was very old.
But I do, and not just older, but like seasoned principal dancer who's lived this like very rich life, working as a principal dancer in San Francisco Ballet, and then coming to New York City Ballet. And so I think early on in my career, it was a little bit of like trying to figure out who would be open to being in a process with like this like 24-year-old little punk kid who was like trying to make dances, and that wasn't for everyone. And I have had experiences with commissions with like seasoned dancers who have like removed themselves from the process for whatever reasons, and maybe they don't like the kind of philosophy behind the work. I mean, a lot of the work that I make is very like democratic, like it requires the principals to sort of like be a part of the community, and not all dancers love that idea. But I think at New York City Ballet there was an energy that really embraced that, and so I do remember like having a conversation with Gonzalo, and that you shared a lot of really insightful things about my work. And I remember that conversation ending with you saying, if you ever need a dancer,
Pick me. I'm available.
I would be open to it. Yeah.
That was it.
And that happened like not just with Gonzalo, but with I remember having that kind of experience with like Sarah Mearns and Maria Kurowski, and these were like very iconic dancers that I used to watch when I was like 15 as a student in the school. And so that was like it was a kind of growing process for me.
Right.
And then so once I had that green light from Gonzalo, it was like, okay, let's do it. Let's jump into making work together. And I think the first thing was Rodeo, right?
Rodeo, and then Decalogue,
Yeah.
Pulcinella.
Yeah.
Rotonda was the last thing. But I mean, yes, I think that you said something about, you were creating these, democratic communities and all that. And to me, that's what was very interesting, because, like I said, to me, I felt like he was creating the new New York City Ballet, you know what I mean? That group, that environment. And since I had never gone through SAB, I always had that sort of desire of belonging to, like, I am part of the New York City Ballet. I'm not just someone that just came in. So when finally I was able to be, first it was second cast in Everywhere We Go. When I was part of that process, to me felt that it was an inside the community, and then I felt like you were very open and you saw some qualities when you did Pulcinella, with my classical background that could be useful, and and then just sort of everything started. But I think that democratic sort of environment was very desirable to me, and I think, like you said, some of those principal dances where you sometimes do a lot of parades and leading roles, you have this desire of belonging with the group. You know what I mean? That is, you're just not a swan. You're part of, this. And I think you really would do that in your creation. So, yeah, we just, we knew you were good.
But Gonzalo is also like a very strong technician and performer on stage, and so he was like an anchor in this ballet.
Didn't you stage it?
I staged
Michael
it.
staged it.
Michael staged it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is a dance for it's actually a cast of 15 men and one ballerina.
Yeah.
And actually, not only was Gonzalo in that, but I danced with
Oh my
Gonzalo
God.
on
Oh,
the
yes.
Very
premiere.
good story. Very good story.
That's a good
Tell the
story.
story.
I mean,
You
it was
tell it.
it was this trio, which
Opening
was
night.
Daniel Olbricht, Gonzalo, and Andy Vallette.
That's right.
And I remember being on in the show the night before the premiere, and I watched Andy strain his calf in the performance.
Donizetti Variations.
In Donizetti Variations.
Yes.
And he was definitely out
Yeah, he was-
down for the count.
couldn't walk, yeah.
And so we didn't really have a consistent understudy for that role. And so we tried to put someone in to this slot. And I remember I didn't take class that morning, and we tried to do a whole dress rehearsal with someone else, and they couldn't remember the choreography, and so
They were
I
very
just-
nervous, and
yeah.
they would keep having to repeat it. I was like, I'm going to be so tired for the show if we keep doing this.
And I think Patricia was there too. And then I just sort of at the end of the dress rehearsal, I just quietly stood up and started to do plies and tendus and warm my body up. And Patricia was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And then I just walked up on stage and I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to block myself into this section, to this these big group sections."
First
And-
movement. You do
Yeah.
first movement.
And I remember Gonzalo was a very steady rock for me, because I was also I made the dance. I was so I understood it from the outside, but not from the inside necessarily. And so I went on in the show that night, and I remember this very surreal experience of going in front of the curtain and announcing, because there was no time to put a slip into the program. I announced to the audience, "I'm going to dance."
I
in
remember
this.
that.
And it was just so surreal. I went back behind the curtain, unzipped my warm-ups, got into the position, and the curtain went back up, and ended up dancing this, and never felt how physically
Hard.
challenging it
Yeah.
was. I remember like collapsing on the floor at the end of the first movement. I was like,
Welcome
"This
to
is
your
harder." Yeah.
ballets.
Harder than it looks. You guys make it look easy. Come on. So
I was like, this is good for you.
it was very humbling. But it was just that was a fun memory with Gonzalo, and that's like all swirled around like this time where we were like making a lot of work together. So.
And it was such a special evening. I mean, the audience, rodeo is such a fantastic, energetic piece. And that night, the audience just felt with you. Like they were like with us, I think, and it was a great night.
I did want to rewind just a little bit. You were telling us a great story at dinner tonight about how you first became aware of Gonzalo, your first interaction with him.
I did. Yes, I was talking about that.
Oh, God.
No, it's true. There's deep roots. And the first time I came across Gonzalo, I was actually a young student. I was like 14 years old, and I was attending my first summer program. And for those of you who don't know, it's a summer program is kind of like it's like summer camp for ballet students, and you go to these great training programs for like 5 or 6 weeks, and it's like you dance all day, you see shows at night. It's like it's wonderful. And at San Francisco Ballet, so this was when Gonzalo was he was like the brand new young principal dancer in the company, and he came and he did this presentation for the students. He like brought some footage of the ballet. It's this kind of like inside
so
baseball thing where they show a little bit of video footage of their dancing, but also like talk about what it feels like to dance those works or what they mean. And I remember Gonzalo sharing about William Forsythe and dancing Balanchine's Rubies, and just like the back and forth with him and getting to ask him questions, and how generous he was with the students, and how patient you were with all the students, and so that's really like that. And Gonzalo would never remember that, because it's like I was like one of 50 kids in this room, but that was definitely that left an impression on me. And he was always very articulate and again, like insightful about the work that was being done from that point. And that was Gonzalo probably like in his must have been early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah. You know,
so
I mean,
that's the way back
I
roots.
love that story.
it's a good story, yeah.
I mean, me and Rebecca can say the same thing. We also went to the San Francisco summer program, and that's just what everybody did. We'd file in, like, try to squeeze through the little window to see Gonzalo Garcia, who was the new star at San
that's
Francisco
sweet.
Ballet.
But summer programs are incredibly important, talking about that, because I was 14 years old when I had the chance to go to my first summer program away from home. I was 14, and I think my parents were trying to figure out, is he serious about this, or what's going on? And somebody said, I think he should go abroad, and study and see if he likes being away from home, because if he wants to have a career, he's probably going to have to leave Spain. So the summer program was sort of what, started everything. I went to San Francisco, I had all these teachers, and my curiosity was bigger after that. And I said, how do I get back to San Francisco? And I went to a competition. I was able to get some support. I went back to San Francisco. And so for me, when they used to ask me to do these very awkward conversations with, 14, 15-year-olds there, and you're just putting your videotapes, watch me dance, Am I good? I'm very good. It was like, it's the most awkward thing ever that they asked me to do. But I thought someone might be inspired. For me, the summer program changed my life. Little did I know.
I was there.
They were it. That we were going to be working together in New York. So it's just like you can't really take anything for granted. And I think any opportunity that you have to inspire the new generation, even if it's awkward, you must do it.
I want to pivot here for a second and ask Justin a question about his works as they're being done more and more all over the world and in different companies with different needs. It was really interesting to watch Heatscape, because I had just staged it with Patricia Delgado a couple months ago at New York City Ballet, and here you let some things that you had changed in New York City Ballet stay. You changed other things. You're just kind of very unprecious about like the purity of it. You'll be like, oh, that doesn't work. I'll be like, oh, but I like that. And then you would just be like, no, I want to do this for this dancer. But maybe you can speak to that, how your willingness to be in the moment with making alterations and how it impacts the work.
Yeah, well, I think it was a very specific experience with Heatscape, because I try my best, even though I can't resist sometimes, to not change the ballets too much, because I find that they represent a certain moment in time for me and for the world and for the artists who are a part of making it. And regardless of what I feel about it now, like in retrospect, I try to honor that. I definitely have made a few tiny changes to Year the Rabbit, even here at Miami City Ballet, for this season. But Heatscape was a very unique circumstance, because New York City Ballet almost never takes in ballets from the outside into their repertoire. They are a company that has sort of defined themselves by commissioning new work, and I would say like probably like 98% of the rep that they dance has been commissioned, choreographed by Balanchine, by Jerome Robbins, by a lot of choreographers who are invited in to make work. And so there was this rare scenario where the leadership at New York City Ballet was really interested and wanting to bring in Heatscape into the repertoire. And I was a little bit like, are you guys sure you want that? Like it's the company that I have a residency with, so I'm making a lot of work there. And they said, no, we really love this ballet. And we've seen it, different iterations of it, and we think it would be great for our dancers and for you to work on with them. And so I took that to heart, and I tried to approach the process in a way that like would uplift and honor the unique qualities of the dancers of New York City Ballet and how I've gotten to know them over the many years of collaborating with them. So there were a lot of little tweaks we made for that version, but that really had so much to do with like my process with my residency and being in constant rehearsals and process with the dancers there. So that was just like kind of like a fun way to put a little bit of a spin on it. And then we took some of that and we brought it down here to Miami, but we also left some of it preserved. And I just find that the dancers here, they just own that work. New York City Ballet was amazing in it too, but I think like Miami, there's something deeper there in that it was like built here from scratch, and it feels like this anthem for them. And I'm so proud of the fact that I was able to make something that feels like they can identify with. And it's very rare for that to happen. Like I always try to kind of do that when I work with a company that's commissioning work from me. But it's very rare, even for me, that that's happened. So it has become a very special work, and it's been performed by companies all over the world now, and like you said, in Spain and Germany and Finland and New York, and so it just means that it's even more, it gives it even more sort of like clout and power for how it stands here in Miami for this company and the identity here. So.
It's beautiful. I think Miami City Ballet travels to all these places. You know what I mean? Like when there is a representation of that generation, but also, you know, how that was made here, of Winwood, you know, of the artists that were involved, that were here in this location, and that it was that location in that period of time, and those artists that created something that is expanding other places, and somehow that representation, I think it's something to be very proud of for this institution.
And it speaks to the importance of commissions for the company, creating something that can then go on and represent the company in many different ways.
Yeah.
Well, we've run out of time. This went by so fast. I could sit here all day with you guys. We didn't even talk about Chutes and Ladders. You're going to see it. It's great.
It's amazing. Also created here.
Also created here with
Yes,
the New World
2012.
Symphony.
Yeah.
Another beautiful Miami
pilot.
collaboration.
Yes.
But yeah, we can't wait for the audience to go on this journey with us, because these are three very special works that have great ties to the company. And thank you both for sitting and
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
This was fun.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.